What's going on, everyone? So, the Houston Rockets are in the midst of trying to land Kevin Durant, right? There's several teams trying to do it, but Houston is a team that is currently, based on the reports, actively trying to figure out how to get Kevin Durant, right? Now, according to the reports, Houston wants to trade Jalen Green, likely Jabari Smith, and whatever other pieces and assets in order to land Kevin Durant. However, the Phoenix Suns do not want Jalen Green, right? Which makes sense. I mean, they already got Devin Booker, and they are probably not going to get rid of Bradley Beal. So it's like, it makes no sense to go bring in and land Jalen Green, right? But they want to get off his contract, right? It's been question marks with him and kind of his production and all that stuff. He's still incredibly young, but the reports say that the Houston Rockets need to find a third team to take on Jalen Green. That a team needs to come in, kind of make it work, and be the team to absorb Jalen Green, or work out a trade and maybe give the Phoenix Suns some pieces and whatnot. And this is where I think the Lakers could come in. Now, I want to start by saying I would not give up my first and all this other stuff to go get Jalen Green, right? To me, if you could essentially be the third team, like, hey, Phoenix doesn't want Jalen Green, we'll take Jalen Green, and if you want some of these other pieces to maybe round out your roster better and kind of give you better fits, then sure, we can do that. If you have to throw in like a pick swap or like a second or something like that, then fine. No problem. But I'm not trading like Connect and my 2031 first and all this other stuff to go get Jalen Green, right? I would be looking at it as an opportunistic trade for the Lakers, where the Lakers, it's like, hey, you need somebody to take Jalen Green, we will do it. And by the way, we have expiring contracts that could get, either side off of said contract, right? So it's like, hey, we can make it work. Well, what is Jalen Green making? He is set to make $33.3 million this season, $36 million, and then he has a player option for $36 million, which I imagine probably opts into, unless he just takes some real strides and ends up demanding more. Right? He's still 23 years old. There are moments like Jalen Green is one of the most frustrating players to watch, because there are moments where you watch him and you're like, that guy is the next great superstar. Like, that guy is unbelievable. And then there's games where you watch him and you're like, that guy is awful, right? Like, that guy might be out of the league in 3 years, right? Like, after this contract is up, enjoy the G League type thing, right? Like, it's really weird, right? There's just like, he's consistently inconsistent at times, right? But he's very young. And if you can get him for cheap, being that third team that kind of takes it on and absorbs it and is like, hey, Phoenix, how would you like a floor spacing big? And, hey, you need a point guard, right? Like, here's a Gabe Vincent and a Maxi Kleba. Maybe if you had to give up a Rui Hachimura in that deal, okay, well, here's a Rui that can slot in at the 4. Here's a Gabe Vincent that can slot in, as your point, right? And give you that 3-and-D style guard that initiate, get the ball to Devin Booker, right? Like, if you could do something like that where you're basically taking your expiring contracts, like, hey, we're giving you financial flexibility. Houston doesn't care because Houston's getting Kevin Durant. It would be convincing Phoenix, like, hey, we're giving you players and pieces, right? And giving you financial flexibility. We'll throw you our 55th pick, or we'll give you, 2 pick swaps or something like that for working this out, right? But I'm not trading Connect, and I'm not trading my 2031 first. If you can do that, which I know some people might be thinking like, why would they? Again, Phoenix does not want Jalen Green, which means Houston has to find somebody to take Jalen Green and give players and pieces and assets that Phoenix would want, right? How many teams want to take Jalen Green, right? How many teams want to pay Jalen Green, right? Like, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And how many teams are willing to pony up the assets in order to land Jalen Green and satisfy Phoenix? Where the Lakers, to me, I look at it as like, you could take a flyer on Jalen Green. He's 23 years old, right? He still has 3 years on his deal, but you basically have him locked in. When he's on, he is incredible. The problem is I think you'd for sure have to trade Austin Reeves at that point, right? Because you can't have Austin Reeves and Jalen Green or bring Austin Reeves off the bench, right? And go with Jalen Green and Luka. Jalen Green has the potential to, I do believe, if unlocked, be a superstar. And he is on a very young team that doesn't have the guys around him to really pick him up. The Lakers do. I mean, JJ Redick is great in that regard. Plus, they have multiple veteran coaches, but also they have LeBron James. They have Luka Doncic. They have guys that are great and even better than he is. It's kind of hard when it's like, I'm the best player on this team. And, it's just, again, it's a different world where now you've been traded. Now it's like, how come they don't want me, man? And then on top of that, it's like, I'm not the best player on this team anymore. I'm the third or fourth best player on this team. Right? Big difference. Very humbling. Right? And so because look, he'd be great long-term, him and Luka slot alongside that other creator, self-creator, shot creator, guy that can knock down and hit shots. Right? Talk about a guy that was 21, 5, and 4 last season. Right? I don't hate the idea. Again, it boils down to what would be the cost to acquire him. If you have to give up your first or Dalton Connect or any of that stuff, then no, I would not do that. But if you could essentially turn your expiring contracts and, like I said, some pick swaps or something like that into Jalen Green, and you wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise, which I've talked about. Again, Lakers need to get creative. One of the best ways to get creative and to land guys that you probably never would have been able to get otherwise is by being the third or fourth team in some of these trades. Because again, Houston, they don't care what happens with Jalen Green because they're landing Kevin Durant. We're not the team that has Kevin Durant. Phoenix is the team that has Kevin. We don't have to convince Houston. You have to convince Phoenix. Hey, you want this for Kevin Durant, right? Well, you don't want Jalen Green. They don't want to trade any of the other stuff. We'll take Jalen Green. Here's our players. Which of these guys do you want? You cannot have Austin Reeves. We're keeping Austin Reeves. Outside of Austin Reeves, what do you want? Hey, Rui Hachimura makes some sense, right? And it gives you financial flexibility going forward. Right now, you can clear $33 million off your books rather than you being stuck with that, right? And if any of these players work out for you and are great for you, you can just keep them. Right? You can sign Gabe Vincent to a new contract. You can sign Rui Hachimura to a new contract. You can sign Maxi Kleber to a new contract, right? Whatever, however you want to structure it, whatever players you want. Do you want multiple players? Do you want to kind of shorten this? Whatever. And if you can land Jalen Green, I would go look to land Jalen Green, right? Again, it's not like he's a bad player. He's an excellent player. Is he that potential superstar that we think, or is he eventually going to be best as a sixth man? Which, look, even if he is just that Malik Monk role, where he's a guy that's just giving you 20 off the bench, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all wrong with that. You don't think the Lakers could have used Jalen Green off the bench this last year when they were one of the worst bench teams in all of basketball? Of course they could have, right? So, again, even if that's worst case scenario, best case scenario, to me, it has to be a low risk, high reward scenario where it's we can get Jalen Green for, essentially nothing, right? Outside of pick swaps or whatever, because you're going to have to give something other than just the players, right? So again, if you have to give up your second or whatever, you're probably not drafting a guy with the 55th pick better than Jalen Green. And again, at that point, now you have Jalen Green and Austin Reeves, so you do have a redundancy in that regard, but that's a good thing to have. Right? Lakers can figure that out. You can trade Austin Reeves, right? See, again, bring one off the bench this year, whatever, right? Maybe trade at the trade deadline, right? But Jalen Green is a guy that he's young enough to where he's already a proven bucket getter. He's already a guy, he's better defensively, right? And, he's a guy that can get after, he'd be better defensively and I think a better scorer. He's not the playmaker and all the, Austin Reeves is better, utility guy. But Jalen Green as your bucket getter, get a stop, get a bucket type guy like Jalen Green, I do like better when he's on. Again, he's I talk about Austin Reeves' inconsistencies. Jalen Green has a lot of inconsistencies, right? But he's a guy that, again, I do think can, at 23 years old, continue to grow, mature, and develop, right? And again, you'd have the guys in the infrastructure and the culture to really kind of help him and guide him in that way. And you'd have him under multiple years and all that stuff. And then worst case scenario, 2 years from now, he's an expiring contract that you're looking to flip. But another big thing is he plays. It's one of the benefits of Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves gives you, 75 to all 82 games every year. Well, so does Jalen Green. Last 2 seasons, Jalen Green has played 82 games. The fewest games of his career was his rookie season, and he played 67 games. He played 67 games, 76 games, 82, and 82. Last year, he averaged basically 33 minutes per game. He took 17.5 field goal attempts per game, shot 42.3% from the field, shot 35.4% from three-point range on 8.1 attempts. Definitely needs to, knock down the three ball with a little more consistency. I mean, 35, 36% is not like god awful, but it's not great, right? So, but again, you're playing alongside Luka Doncic and LeBron James. The quality of looks that you're going to get compared to a Houston team are night and day, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if he is a much better three-point shooter. Also, it's worth noting, last year was the best year he had shooting the three ball, and it was the most volume. So he's actually on an upward trajectory, which is good. Took the most threes that he's ever taken in a season, and he hit at the best percentage that he's ever had in a season. Shot 48.2% from the field from 2-point range on 9.5 attempts, EFG of 50.5%, 81.3%, and he's a career 80% free throw shooter on 4.1 attempts, had just under 5 rebounds at 4.6, had 3.5 assists, a steal, half a block, and 21 points per game. If you can get Jalen Green at the right price, go get Jalen Green. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. See you guys all in the next one. Thank you.